So, hey, Will, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Will Hagen here. He's going to be our violin soloist next week in the Tchaikovsky Concerto. Is this a piece you've played before?
Yes, quite a lot. And I think some people that play any piece a lot start to grumble about it. I've never grumbled about it, and I never will.
You know,
I,
it's funny you say that because the piece that comes to mind that I say that about all the time is The Nutcracker, another piece by Tchaikovsky that,
yeah,
we do again and again and again, and it never gets old because it's that beautiful.
yes,
So,
yes.
what are the things about Tchaikovsky Concerto that you particularly love?
Lyricism, a very clear narrative flow, and just perfect amounts of incredible beauty, virtuosic flash and dash, emotional depth. It's got everything. It's got everything. And I think if you asked me what's the one piece that you would want to go on stage with an orchestra and play for an audience that for any audience, I would say Tchaikovsky,
I think it would be
because
a great choice.
accessible and it's the most beautiful. I think it's maybe the greatest violin concerto. And again, I love lots of pieces. I mean, I could wax rhapsodic about a lot of the violin repertoire, but this one is just a perfect piece.
So when did you first get exposed to the Tchaikovsky Concerto, and when did you actually learn it for the first time?
So I'm not from a family of musicians, and I was kind of thrust into the music world. I was always so in love with it. And anyway, long story short, as a youngster, I ended up at a place called Encore School for Strings, which was like for very advanced students from around the country. And one of my classmates there, who is older than me and is to this day a very good friend, it was Catherine Eberly, who's now I think the assistant concertmaster of Utah Symphony, and she played Tchaikovsky. And my mom and I must have been 10 at the time. I went, oh my gosh! I mean, it takes you on a journey. This piece takes you on a journey, and we were just absolutely blown away. But it was hearing it in a studio class for Robert Lipsett's violin class at Encore School for Strings. It was the first time I heard it. First time I was exposed to it, and then I'm sure I became obsessed and started listening to recordings after that. I think I first learned it probably at the age of 16.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I soloed with the Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra in my teens or very early 20s, and that was the first time. I think I was about 17 years old, 18 years old, and I that was my first time performing with an orchestra. So I have a long history with it.
Yeah, and so when it was written back in the 19th century, many violinists said that it was impossible, that it was actually unplayable because of the technical challenges. Is that still the case? I know that the general level of violin playing has gotten so strong, but there must still be challenges that are daunting about this piece.
Oh yes, of course. I mean, endurance is always a challenge, and just the virtuosity is really it's really over the top in a wonderful way. I think in Paganini, when you play Paganini violin concerto, it's look at what I can do with the violin, and with Tchaikovsky, it's like this amazing story that's being told, and on the side, oh my gosh, can you believe what the violinist has to do here?
Yeah.
It's people often when they talk about this piece mention that it was viewed as unplayable. It's interesting. So it's Leopold Auer who said it was unplayable, and he changed. It's a weird violin concerto. When you play Brahms violin concerto, you have the Brahms violin concerto, and there's a cadenza by Joachim, who was kind of who worked very closely with Brahms, was a good friend of his. So that's seen as the most authentic cadenza. But you do have your choice of cadenzas. With Tchaikovsky, there are multiple places in the piece where this person did a rewrite, this person did a rewrite. So you can play this option or that option. You can play, one version of the last movement, another version of the last movement. You can go up the octave here, down the octave here. So it's actually kind of, you have to decide which version of the piece you're going to play. And I mean, it's any of these versions, they're not going to get in the way of the narrative of the story. It's not like you're adding bars or anything, but the reason I mentioned this is because the person who said it was unplayable, I think he took some chords out and made them single notes, but then a page later he did something that's way harder than anything else. It was almost like maybe he, he said it's unplayable, and then somebody else said, no, it's not, it's totally playable, and he went, oh, I know, I just want to, and maybe he
so he made it unplayable.
yeah, I think maybe he did that on purpose. I wonder, because and then I don't know, sometimes when you see a new thing, I mean, you have to imagine he would have never heard it. He doesn't have the orchestra part. He can't go on Spotify and look up 100 different recordings of it.
I know,
so
he's crazy.
Part, and he might have thought, oh, this just really needs some cuts here. Why am I hearing this again? Why am I hearing that? Why, and he might have had, oh, we really need to edit this up, which is very short-sighted. But anyway, it's very interesting, the history of these pieces. I think, is it this piece where the review said that the violinist has to beat the violin black and blue?
It might very well be. I think you're right.
Which is preposterous. It's such a graceful, beautiful piece. You mentioned the Nutcracker earlier. He's a ballet composer, and favorite composer was Mozart in Italian opera, and you hear that all over the piece.
It's true. I mean, there are probably on two hands you can count the truly great melodists of all time, and Tchaikovsky almost reigns supreme among all of them.
I totally agree. And yeah, I mean, going back to the first thing that I was saying, just about how I think it might be the greatest violin concerto. I mean, that's what makes this piece so incredibly good. Is just so many. It's not just one. It's not just two. It's many different singable themes. Earworms that you take out of the concert hall with you, and it's so beautifully written for the instrument. It really shows off the instrument so beautifully.
It's going to be stunning. So you've been to Greenwich before, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
And what are you looking forward to in terms of your return to Greenwich?
The fabulous orchestra. We've not met each other.
This will be our first time.
Yeah. So I can't wait to meet you. The Greenwich Symphony is fabulous. It's a beautiful place. Greenwich is a beautiful place. And so I'm thrilled to be coming back. I think it actually has been a long time. With the pandemic, you just kind of have to add 2 or 3 years to normal. There's like normal passage of time, and then this just 2-year blip.
It's like a time warp that everything makes no sense any longer. Like, how long was it ago? I have no idea.
Exactly. So anyway, but I'm just thrilled to be coming back.
Well, we're very excited to have you, and thanks so much for joining me for this little sneak preview. Can't wait to see you in a few days, and safe travels.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
Okay, take care, Will.
All right, bye.